Humans often place the source of their happiness in others or external factors. However, humans have the ability to think and are empowered to determine their own sources of happiness. In communication, there is a concept called intrapersonal communication, which serves as a means for self-adjustment and an outlet for emotions. Stoicism also contains elements of self-control in viewing life events, so this process requires deep communication with oneself or contemplation to reach a point where one can fully control oneself from external influences. Intrapersonal communication is communication that occurs within an individual, such as when imagining or seemingly talking to oneself. This type of communication helps develop creativity, imagination, understanding, and self-control, as well as maturity in thinking before making decisions. Jalaluddin Rahmat states that from a psychological communication perspective, intrapersonal communication involves information processing, including sensing, perception, memory, and thought. Stoic philosophy was founded by the Greek philosopher Zeno. It was popularized in the 1st century AD by figures like Seneca, Epictetus, and Emperor Marcus Aurelius, each with different backgrounds. The core of Stoic philosophy is admiration for the order and regularity in the world. The emergence of the Stoics is marked by the teachings of Zeno of Citium around 300 BC. According to the Stoics, human life should be centered on the effort to live according to the universal logos, which is the basis for moral life. Stoicism is often associated with freedom. However, this freedom does not mean being free from fate. Rather, humans will achieve freedom when they consciously and willingly align themselves with nature and the laws of nature that cannot be avoided. Lowering expectations with premeditatio malorum. Expectations are based on intrapersonal communication with oneself and are predictions about what will happen based on perceptions of past events. People often set high expectations, hoping they will come true. While this can be motivating, it can also be very disheartening when reality does not match those expectations. Therefore, Stoicism teaches an interesting concept that can help individuals cope with unmet expectations. Premeditatio malorum is a mental strengthening technique that involves imagining all possible events could happen in life today and in the future. Unlike baseless worries, premeditatio malorum helps us recognize events beyond our control and choose to respond rationally. Our relationship with fortune is like that of a user or borrower. We must always be ready when our fortune and luck are reclaimed by the goddess Fortuna. By practicing premeditatio malorum, individuals can reduce uncertainty. Although it may seem like planting negative thoughts, this technique actually reduces negative emotions caused by unexpected events. When something changes from being unexpected to being anticipated, its negative impact is greatly reduced. For example, if someone expects heavy traffic on a certain road, they are less likely to be upset by it. On the other hand, the imagined bad event doesn't happen, happiness will feel even greater. The premeditatio malorum technique can be applied in counseling services to individuals experiencing negative emotions, such as anxiety, and even to those who are not currently facing problems, as it comes from rational thinking and a calm mind. Amor fati, building a self-concept without validation. Intrapersonal communication helps build and maintain a self-concept, which is an understanding of oneself based on how others communicate with us and how we process intrapersonal communication. People tend to seek validation of their self-concept from others. This makes them dependent on how others perceive them. This tendency can trap individuals in societal standards and make it difficult for them to accept reality. Amor fati is a Latin phrase meaning love of fate. Stoicism teaches people to accept what is currently happening in their lives without dwelling on the past or the future. According to Stoicism, the desire for a different state of life is a form of tyranny. Amor fati teaches us to accept and even love our current fate, whether good or bad. While it is not easy to accept everything that happens in life, especially the bad things, Stoicism states that amor fati is a way to achieve greatness. Amor fati encourages mindfulness in living. When faced with pain and disappointment, Stoicism instructs us to continue loving those circumstances. Loving one's fate is also an implementation of living in harmony with nature. Although it is difficult, practicing amor fati can be done through a technique called STAR. First, stop. When negative thoughts about an event arise, first thing to do is stop the flow of negative thoughts. Second, think and assess. After controlling negative emotions, the next step is to think and assess the situation that has occurred. This is the most important step because all events in the universe are neutral. Whether they are good or bad depends on human perception. Third, respond. After negative emotions subside, and we have used our reasoning to think and interpret the event, we can react, either through words or actions. Controlling perception through the dichotomy of control. The process of interpreting or understanding the meaning of sensations involves perception. The world we perceive is not the real world, but the understood world, influenced by attention, personal factors, and situational context. Perception plays a crucial role in the success of communication. Accurate perception of sensory stimuli leads to successful communication, while failure in perception results in miscommunication. Therefore, it is not an exaggeration to say that perception is the core of communication. Stoicism teaches that true happiness can only come from things we can control, that is, things under our control. In other words, true happiness comes from within, not from external factors beyond our control, such as future events we cannot predict. The Stoics taught that true happiness can only come from what we can control. On the contrary, true happiness and peace cannot depend on things beyond our control. For Stoic philosophers, basing happiness on things beyond our control, such as how others treat us, popularity, or wealth, is irrational. However, the dichotomy of control received valid criticism because some argue that certain external things can be controlled. This led to the concept of the trichotomy of control. While the dichotomy of control had two aspects, things we can control and things we cannot control, the trichotomy of control introduces three aspects. A. Things we can control, our opinions, perceptions, and judgments. B. Things we cannot control, the weather, others' opinions, and actions. And C. Things we can partially control, education, work, competition, and relationships, by separating internal goals from their outcomes. Learning not to desire things beyond our control is different from giving up. It means consciously being grateful for what we have and controlling our thoughts to avoid worrying about things we have not yet achieved that are beyond our control. From the above discussion, it can be concluded that the dichotomy of control is about realizing that, as humans, there are things beyond our control. This awareness influences the events we experience daily. With the dichotomy of control, individuals can recognize that external things beyond their control should not be regretted, and they can control their responses to those things. However, the concept of the trichotomy of control later emerged, explaining that some external things beyond our control can still be influenced, such as career, education, and achievement. In other words, the dichotomy of control suggests that humans should have good emotional control to respond wisely to things beyond their control and live more peacefully. Intrapersonal communication is rarely discussed because it is limited to one individual. However, there is a complexity within an individual's thoughts, leading to various actions and behavior. In Stoicism, there is a connection with elements found in intrapersonal communication. Unmet expectations can cause suffering, but premeditation malorum offers a solution by encouraging individuals to consider the worst-case scenario to reduce negative emotions. Unlike pessimism, premeditation malorum does not encourage negative thinking, but helps individuals recognize things beyond their control, so they can accept events that do not meet their expectations. Amor Fati encourages individuals to accept and even love their current circumstance. This can help those who depend on others' validation. Amor Fati can be trained using the STAR method, helping individuals become free from societal standards. The dichotomy of control is a way to control perception entirely. This perception is influenced by personal factors, but humans can decide whether this perception is within or beyond their control. Filtering external sensations helps individuals approach every phenomenon with a calm mind.